Let's start with something that sounds harsh, but I promise it's the most freeing thing you'll hear all week. Nobody cares about your content. Not in a mean way, not because it's bad, just because everyone is way too busy thinking about themselves to spend real time thinking about you. I know that sounds like the opposite of motivating. You'd think a video about starting to create content would tell you everyone's gonna love it, or your voice matters so much that the world is waiting for you. And sure, your voice does matter. I still believe that. But here's the part nobody tells you. The world isn't actually waiting. Nobody is refreshing their feed hoping you post today. Nobody is sitting there analyzing your video frame by frame, judging your lighting, your voice cracks, your bad transitions. They watch for maybe 15 seconds, they form zero lasting opinion, and then they scroll to the next thing. That's it. That's the whole interaction. And once that actually sinks in, it stops being scary. It becomes the most liberating realization you'll ever have as a creator. Let me explain what I mean. Because when I first heard something like this, I didn't believe it either. I thought, no way, if I post something embarrassing, people are going to remember it forever. I thought my first videos were being dissected by an audience of critics sitting there with notepads ready to roast me. That's not what happens. What actually happens is this. Someone opens the app, they're bored, they scroll, your video plays for a few seconds, maybe they watch the whole thing, maybe they don't. Either way, within about 10 seconds of it ending, their brain has already moved on to the next video, then a text message, then their own problems, their own job, their own relationship stress, their own bills. Your video was a blip. Not because it wasn't good enough, just because that's how attention works now. Everyone's attention is being pulled in 50 directions at once, and you were one small piece of that for a few seconds. Here's the part that used to actually stop me from posting anything at all. I thought if I made a video and it wasn't good, people would remember me as that guy who tried to be a creator and failed. I thought there was some invisible scoreboard or all my embarrassing moments were being tallied up by people I went to school with, people I worked with, even strangers online. And I want to tell you clearly, that scoreboard doesn't exist. Nobody is keeping score. People are far too consumed with their own lives to spend real energy thinking about your content, good or bad. Think about it from your own side for a second. How many videos did you watch this week? 50? 100? Can you actually remember more than a handful of them? Can you remember the creator's face, their name, what they said, word for word? Probably not. You watched, you felt something for a moment, maybe you laughed or nodded, and then you moved on. That's exactly what happens with your content too. People consume it the same disposable way they consume everything else. It's not personal, it's just how the internet works now. So here's where the freedom comes in. If nobody is actually watching that closely, if nobody is keeping a permanent record of your worst takes, your awkward pauses, your bad audio from episode 1, then what exactly are you protecting yourself from by not starting? What are you actually afraid of? A memory that isn't going to exist in anyone's head except your own? I remember when I first started making videos, I was terrified someone from my old job would see them and think less of me. I pictured them pulling it up in a meeting, laughing, sending it around the office. None of that happened, not once. And even when a coworker did stumble across one of my videos, you know what they said? "Oh cool, you make videos." And that was it. That was the entire dramatic confrontation I had built up in my head for months. One sentence, no judgment, no consequences, just mild curiosity that lasted about 4 seconds before we moved on to talking about something else entirely. This is the same story I hear over and over from other creators too. They build up this massive imaginary audience of judges in their head, a courtroom full of people ready to convict them the second they hit publish. And then they post the video, and reality is just quiet. The few views, a couple of comments if you're lucky, maybe a like from a stranger you'll never talk to again. The courtroom was never real. It was built entirely out of your own anxiety. Now let's talk about why this actually matters for you as someone thinking about starting. If nobody is watching that closely, it means you have room to be bad. Genuinely, actually bad, without consequences. Your first video can flop and nothing happens to your reputation because nobody was paying close enough attention to build the reputation of you in the first place. You are, right now, functionally anonymous. even if you use your real face and real name. Anonymous in the sense that nobody has formed a fixed opinion of you as a creator yet. That blank slate is a gift. Use it. Think about it this way. Right now, today, you could post the most cringe, awkward, poorly lit video of your life, and in 6 months from now, almost nobody will remember it happened. Not your friends, not your followers, not even the algorithm, honestly, because it's already buried under 1,000 other pieces of content that were uploaded that same day. You have an insane amount of room to experiment, fail, and try again, and the cost of that failure is close to zero. Compare that to literally any other skill you could be learning. If you're bad at basketball, you get embarrassed in front of the actual people on the court with you in real time, in a shared physical space you can't escape. If you're bad at public speaking, you're standing in front of a room that's watching you live, and that memory sticks with those specific people. But content? If your first video is bad, it just sort of disappears into the algorithm within a day or two. Nobody's building a permanent memory of you being bad at this. You get infinite retries with almost no social cost. Alright, here's a quick gut check before we keep going, because I want this video to actually change something for you, not just be another thing you watch and nod along to for 10 minutes. If this idea is landing for you at all, go ahead and hit the like button right now. Genuinely, it helps this video reach more people who need to hear exactly this. And if you're new here, subscribe, because this channel is built around exactly this kind of honest, no-fluff talk about content creation, money, and building a life you actually want, not the sugar-coated version. Okay, let's keep going. Now let's talk about the flip side of this, because nobody cares can sound depressing if you take it the wrong way. I don't mean nobody cares about you as a person. I mean nobody cares enough to judge your content the way you're afraid they will. Those are two very different things. Your close friends care about you. Your family cares about you. The people who genuinely know you are not sitting there waiting to mock your YouTube channel. And even strangers on the internet, the scary, faceless everyone you're picturing, they're not thinking about you either, because they're busy being terrified of the exact same thing you are. Everyone is starring in their own movie. You are at most an extra in a scene that lasts a few seconds before they cut to the next clip. This is actually why so many creators describe their breakthrough moment the same way. They stop making content for an imaginary audience of judges and start making it for the version of themselves who just wanted to try. Once you remove the imaginary courtroom from the equation, creating content stops feeling like a performance review and starts feeling like what it actually is, just you sharing an idea. That shift changes everything about how consistently you can show up. There's also a strange kind of confidence that comes from realizing you're not being watched as closely as you think. It's the same energy as dancing in your room when you think nobody's home. You loosen up. You take more risks. You stop overthinking every single word, every camera angle, every possible criticism, because you finally understand there's no panel of judges sitting behind the camera scoring you out of 10. There's just you, a phone, and an idea worth sharing. And here's something worth remembering the next time the fear creeps back in. Even the creators you look up to, the ones with millions of subscribers, they started exactly where you are right now. Unknown, unwatched, completely free to be bad without anyone noticing. Their early videos are still out there if you go dig for them, and they're rough. Bad lighting, awkward pacing, nervous energy. Nobody remembers those videos, including the people who made them. What people remember is who that creator eventually became, after hundreds of unwatched, unremarkable, forgettable videos that nobody cared about at the time. So if you've been sitting on an idea, waiting for the right time to start, waiting until you're less scared, waiting until your setup is better, I want you to actually sit with this thought for a second. Nobody is watching closely enough to remember you failing. Nobody's building a permanent case file on your worst moments. The attention you're so afraid of losing was never really there in the first place. And that's not sad, that's your permission slip. Post the awkward video. Say the take you're scared people will disagree with. Let your first 10 videos be mediocre, because mediocre and forgotten is infinitely better than perfect and never made. That's genuinely the whole point of this video. The fear of being watched is bigger in your head than it is in reality. And once you actually internalize that, starting gets so much easier.
You stop performing for an audience that doesn't exist and start actually creating.
If this video helped you see things a little differently, that's exactly why I made it. Drop a comment and tell me what idea you've been sitting on, the one you haven't started because you're scared people will judge it. I read every single comment, and I promise you, whatever you're scared of, someone else watching this is scared of the exact same thing. So let's talk about it together. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.